Welcome to this month's Blue Family News Q&A session, brought to you by the Police Federal Credit Union of Omaha, as usual, of course. I'm Ken Bader. I am the founder of the POCUA, and I have the privilege of facilitating these Q&As, and we have a really interesting guest. He's a little bit limited for time, so while I could spend 5 minutes on a resume and a bio, I'm going to cut it a little bit short and just let you know that he's a New York City detective. He used to catch bad guys in Lower Manhattan, I believe, on actually a skateboard. If we have time, maybe we'll even get to that. And he's also the founder of Fund the First, which is the main thing we want to talk about today. Robert, welcome, man.
Thanks. Always a pleasure to speak with you and everyone for having me.
All right, terrific. I know you got a little bit of a bad connection because we caught you in between work while Robert is getting himself set up. We, of course, welcome all of you that might be watching the video later on, and know that we always invite a certain number of members and management staff from Police Federal Credit Union of Omaha to join us. So from time to time, as we've done in past sessions, I will stop my questioning and conversation with Robert and open questions up to the group that we have here. Robert, are you still with us?
Here we go. Is that better?
Yeah, that is better. And I can see you're out there. Are you in Manhattan today?
I am.
All right, cool. All right, well, maybe we'll hear somebody swear at you from across the street. That was my experience in Manhattan too. Very possible. All right, so let's get to the main subject at hand. You founded Fund the First, which is, to my knowledge, the only funding platform specifically for first responders, healthcare, military professionals. There's plenty of funding platforms out there. Probably the most popular are GoFundMe, maybe even Kickstarter. Why even start Fund the First? Why was that on your radar?
Well, you bring up a good point. There's a lot of platforms out there, right? There's Kickstarter, there's Indiegogo, there's UCaring, there's CrowdRise, there's Republic, and each one of these crowdfunding platforms all have their own unique tell, so to say. So GoFundMe is a crowdfunding platform for all. Kickstarter is for businesses, you're looking to launch a product. Republic is for raising capital. But there's actually 191 of these platforms nationwide. And they're all used for the same reason, to raise funds, whether it be for an illness, a surgery, a death, a catastrophic loss, a good cause like a toy drive, whatever you want to raise funds for. But here's something that the entire industry doesn't have: verification. It has zero verification, zero vetting processes. Anybody can jump on these platforms, except for the ones that are regulated by the SEC, such as Republic. But anybody can jump on these platforms and start a fundraiser to raise money with zero vetting or verification going on. So now, with our, those who serve and our heroes across the country, first responders, military, medical providers, teachers, nurses, they need a platform that can be trusted. They need a place where donors where donors are going to know.
Welcome to New York.
That their money is, where donors are going to know that their money that they're donating to a specific fundraiser is actually going to that intended source. So that's where Fund the First comes into play. Fund the First was originally created because of one of my immediate supervisors. His daughter was born with a very rare illness. She ended up passing away at 2.5 years old. Now, I have 3 children, and I never want to see anything with my children or anybody else go through something like that. And it was a very difficult time. So I had mentioned to him, his name's Jason. I said, Jason, let's get you on GoFundMe. Let's do a fundraiser because you're going through a financial crisis at the time. This is before she passed away. And he didn't want to. He was very reluctant to do it. And the main reason was that he goes, we're in New York. How do I know that someone in California, India, Europe is not going to use my daughter's name, my daughter's face, and start raising funds and say that they're the ones going through this issue? And I took it with a grain of salt, and I was like, that doesn't happen. But then the businessman in me, the detective in me kicked in. And I said, you know what, I'm going to do a data poll. I'm going to run some analytics on this, and I'm going to see. So I used GoFundMe, and I did a data poll of 50,000 campaigns. GoFundMe and the industry actually has 600 million fundraising campaigns to date. It's a lot. There's about 10,000 new fundraisers created every single day across these 191 platforms. So I did a data poll of 50,000 campaigns, and I used keywords with that data poll, such as first responder, military, teacher, all different types of keywords. And when I came to see was, with those 50,000, 3% of fundraisers were duplicates. Now, that doesn't mean that it's necessarily fraud or a scam, but what it does mean is that, Ken, you were creating a fundraiser for Robert, and Mary, you were creating a fundraiser for Robert. Now, you're sharing those fundraisers out, trying to collect funds for Robert, but now the donors, it creates donor confusion. And donors say, hey, wait a second, which one do I give my funds to? This is an issue. So that's where I said, you know what? I looked at Jason. I said, I'm going to do something. You know, my mind's going now. I'm going to do something. And sure enough, about a year later, we launched Fund the First. We launched July of 2020, and we're fully partnered and integrated with ID.me. And if anybody on the call is familiar with ID.me, they're the #1 verification processor in the country. They're integrated with DMVs. They're integrated with Social Security, and they're actually building out a third layer of the internet to really build out their verification model and ensure that people are verified in who they are, especially with all the scams and everything that's going on nowadays. So what we do is very unique. We allow for our fundraisers, anybody to create a fundraiser, but the beneficiary of campaigns must be verified through ID.me, and it's a two-step process. The first process is when that campaign is started. So Ken, you're not a first responder. However, you can start a campaign for me, who I am a first responder. You can say, I'm raising funds for Robert. Robert's going through his skateboard broke, right? So I'm looking to raise funds for his new skateboard. So now you're doing that. I get hit with the notification through our platform. It says create an account. I come to Fund the First. I create an account. And then before that campaign goes live, I also have to verify my first responder credentials because I'm a first responder, it's police. Now, once that's done, our team then vets the campaign, make sure nothing sounds shady, nothing sounds off, and we let it go live. Now it goes live from there. And then donations right away, you start collecting by sharing, and that's the way the platform industry works. You have your campaign that you're doing, you're sharing it with your immediate networks, you're asking people for donations, and everything works on emotional connection. So even though Fund the First, we'll put it in a newsletter and we'll put it out in on our social media, people don't donate to it. People donate because they're emotionally connected to that specific campaign through your network.
Right.
So unless it gets in the news, but yeah, the really main thing with our platform is trust and transparency. Right. You know, we want people to utilize us because we want them to know that not only are they verified, but their donor base is going to understand that this is where their money is going to, and only to that person. Revenue model, obviously, we are a business. We take 5%, very, very small. I mean, you look at nonprofits as a whole, you see some nonprofits that take 70% of the dollar, which is disgusting and grotesque. And I don't understand how they even get their charity navigator symbols after that. But, you know, we're a business model. We take a 5% model. So let's say you have a fundraiser, you're looking to raise $100. You change it to 105. Well, you change it to 108. I'm sorry. We also have a credit card processing fee, which right now we're in the middle of discussions with Stripe. We utilize Stripe for credit card processing, and we're trying to reduce their fee. It's at 2.9%. Because we now have, in 16 months, we're at 268 fundraising campaigns, and we've surpassed $2.2 million in donations. They're considering lowering that percentage. Once we get to $100 million in donations, they're basically going to cut it down to like 1%, which is great. You know, it's excellent. It's going to take some time. We're still brand new. We're still a startup, but we're doing everything we can to get out there.
Sure.
And that's why I love getting on calls like this, you know, to inform new people of why we exist, why we're here, and what we're doing.
Yeah, that brings up a good question, and I'll ask this and then I'll open it up to the folks that are with us today. How often does that happen? Because I know it wasn't the only reason, but it certainly was, as in talking to you, seems like one of the top 3 reasons to start Fund the First, in that these, my words, bogus GoFundMes were being put out there for all the wrong reasons for first responders and military. How often does that happen?
It happens a lot. Unfortunately, it happens a lot. Our team doesn't break down the scams and the fraud behind the campaigns on GoFundMe that happen on the daily. But you could go on there. I mean, you know, I'll use an example. There was a detective that was killed in New Jersey a year ago. And the day he was killed, 7 GoFundMes went up. 7. 3 of them raised over $100,000. Yeah. Who are those people?
Yeah.
Who are they?
And
There's no way of telling if that money's good. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to guess that none of that $100,000 actually went to the family.
No one ever knows. That's the problem.
Yeah.
So what we do right now as our team, because we're still growing, we write a check directly to the family. So what happens is we have a let me just backtrack for one moment.
Sure.
When you go to our homepage, you go to fundthefirst.com. There's a button that says Start a Fundraiser. Now we're fixing this flow right now. In the technology space, you're always making upgrades, right? You're making upgrades to make sure that your user experience is incredible and there's no questions or anything. But right now, when you click Start a Fund the First, it prompts you to sign up and create an account. And then you're going to have 5 options of the types of campaigns. So the first type is going to be myself. That'll be as me as a first responder. I'm able to verify. I'm clicking myself, and I'm going through and raising money for me. The second one is going to be someone else, which is someone else beneficiary readily available. So Ken, you could be doing a campaign for me, and you know that I'm available. I'm not incapacitated in any manner. And then you start that campaign. I get notified, and I verify. Then there's someone else unavailable. So if the beneficiary is unavailable, it's pretty unique. Now, in that situation, let's say the beneficiary was killed in line of duty, is incapacitated in the hospital, or is just going through something where they can't verify at the moment, whatever it be. We prompt the organizer to verify. So if you have first responder background, military, medical provider, nurse, or teacher, you'll be able to verify that campaign can go live. However, if you can't, then it prompts you to notify us, and we'll do a manual verification. We'll do all of our checks. We'll have to get in touch with the beneficiary for whatever reason, the next of kin, whatever it may be, and we make sure that campaign goes live. The next option after that is a nonprofit. So, you could raise funds for a nonprofit, and what's unique about that is we verify the nonprofit's EIN number, address, phone number, and email. And at the end of that campaign, that organizer does not receive those funds. We issue a check directly to that nonprofit with a note. So-and-so raised funds for XYZ in your nonprofit's name, and we send it out to them. And that's how we do that.
I want to open it up. You've given us a ton of information. So there's either a number of questions from the crowd, or you did so well, there's no questions from the crowd. But I want to open it up. Does anybody have a question for Robert about Fund the First or something related to that?
I don't necessarily have a question. I just, we just had a campaign here recently for a military person that lost their life. And, like you said, those GoFundMes go up right now. In this case, the family had a liaison that worked with the news stations right away to say, hey, we are doing, there will be 0 GoFundMe accounts set up, in the name of the military person. So we were lucky to do that, and we were able to get an account set up, get the funds, flowing here to the credit union for the benefit of that family. But that's our big issue is, sure, they can mail funds to us, but we need an electronic means to be able to have that money flow, because in this case, he was stationed in California. And so people wanted to make those contributions and wanted to be able to do it electronically. And, people aren't comfortable with GoFundMe anymore. And so I think this is just a very nice alternative, especially with us being a law enforcement-based credit union, to be able to take care of our members, because unfortunately this happens a lot more than I think the average person realizes.
Yeah. I would assume, while I'm not a paid representative salesperson for Robert Garland and Fund the First, I would assume that Nebraska, Iowa, and South Dakota would be no problem to do a law enforcement campaign of some sort through Fund the First. Is that a good guess, Robert?
Good guess. I mean, listen, we're here, and the union. The credit union could start a campaign for anybody. You guys could start it up. You see a hardship or whatever it may be, start it up, get it going. But the biggest thing is sharing that campaign with your network and their immediate network. Because you got to remember, if your credit union now is creating a campaign a week, your network is not going to donate to it at all. What's going to happen is you're going to have to make sure that the beneficiaries network of that campaign is sharing it out like crazy. That's the only way it's going to get out. if you're, you got to get it to their departments, you got to ask their CIOs to share it out. You got to get some media to share it out locally, which is all relatively easy. It takes a couple of phone calls and a little bit of work, but it's not hard at all. And you know what? That feeling of giving back is incredible. I love seeing some of these campaigns, in day one raise $25,000, $50,000, and it's like, wow, our platform was able to help that family. It's really incredible.
Yeah,
absolutely. And I think for us too, what I see is you have the younger generation that's a little more tech tech savvy, and so they can do the Venmos and those different things. And again, we can talk all day long about how the lack of security, but for those members that maybe aren't as tech savvy, they need this type of service, or obviously the family's under additional stress, and so they don't have time to focus on all the things that go into this. This would be an ideal situation to have a partner like Fund the First to be able to help us with these types of campaigns.
Yeah, when these families are going through this, the last thing they need to worry about or check are 7 bogus GoFundMe's around the tragedy.
Right. Yeah, by all means. Listen, our platform is always here, always available at your disposal. Whatever you need. You bring up a good point. Really quick to sidetrack: Venmo and PayPal. Venmo and PayPal doesn't have any transparency. What I mean by that, it doesn't show how much money is actually being collected. So there's a problem. People always say, "Oh, Venmo, we're doing collections. Venmo me this." Well, how much money is in that person's account? You don't know how much they're pocketing. It's horrible. And that's with nonprofits too. You click on a nonprofit, it says donate now. Okay, where's the little bar that shows how much money is going to it? You got to wait until the end of the year to run their finances through the IRS and see that campaign raised $300,000, but they took $150,000.
Yeah.
That's what's horrible about the industry, horrible about the donation industry, and that's why we're super transparent. We have that little bar up there. It shows exactly where the money's going to, who's receiving, and how much is receiving.
Yeah.
I think my ultimate goal with this is to be proactive, to get this information out to our membership so that, God forbid, when the next tragedy happens, or, they already have this information, they know where to go to get it done, make sure my staff is educated.
Let's make GoFundMe go bye-bye.
Yeah.
Sounds like a tagline. Maybe you could put that in your branding for Fund the First, or maybe you could segue it or sneak it into your podcast, Heroes First. Who knows?
Well, I'll be retiring soon, so it's going to change. My podcast is going to change dramatically.
So yeah, you could, instead of once a week or once every so often, you could expect a podcast a day from Robert Garland when he retires. But to try and wrap this up a little bit, we certainly could talk to you for a long time, but we want to be respectful and let you get back to work because you're not retired yet. So you got things to do as an officer, as in addition to a podcaster and as the founder of Fund the First. But you've done these interviews before because you basically answered all my darn questions. CNN, talk to this guy. But to kind of close up, and I will open it really quick to everybody else for one last question. With 2022 on the horizon, you possibly have already covered this, but is there anything new that we should be looking at from Fund the First, or maybe your podcast or your business ventures in general, since you will be retired and you'll have some time on your hands to do some new stuff?
Well, we have a lot of things in the works for 2022. If you're familiar with OKRs, we just put together a huge OKR, and we're really hammering away what we're going to do in regards to the business, especially with raising capital. Marketing has been our biggest hurdle, marketing advertisement, because a lot of first responder things, military things, they get blacklisted. They don't get shown on social media, and especially with Zuckerberg changing everything to the metaverse now, there's going to be a lot of difficulties that come behind that because it's going to be open source through things like Oculus, and we're going to want to run ads on there, but it's going to be very difficult because they're not going to want it there. So there's going to be a lot of things a lot of challenges we have. We're going to be going to a Series A, which is pretty exciting, probably by July, to raise some more capital and really boom this marketing and advertising to get us across the nation. But the biggest thing that we rely on is organic growth. And having phone calls like this, and I do phone calls like this twice a day sometimes. It's big, because now for you guys that are on the call, some of you may not have ever heard of Fund the First, but now you have. And now you're going to do your own research, your own independent research. You're going to go to Google and say, who is this Robert Garland guy? And you're going to look me up, and you're going to see, everything that's out there about me. You're going to see everything that's out there about Fund the First, and you're going to read nothing but good things. And you're going to fall in love with the platform. And then you're going to tell somebody else about Fund the First. And that someone else is going to do the exact same thing. And that's the organic growth. And that's what we love to do. And that's one of the biggest things that I'm going to be doing. So if there's any opportunities for me to come and do some public speaking out there in Omaha, I'd love to do it.
Well, Omaha gets a bad rap, but I've been there probably a dozen times. I like the city. Not so much in January, but summer, yes, I do. I do really like Omaha, and I can bet you, Mary Johnson, not only being the CEO of the credit union, but more so being a daughter of a police officer, is going to check you out right after we're done with this Q&A.
Have my ways. Thank you so much for your time today. We really appreciate it.
Excellent.
Yeah.
It was a pleasure, and thank you all. And Ken, just pass along my information for everybody, and feel free to contact me anytime.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for taking some time out of what I know is a busy day for you. Really proud of what you're doing, my friend. And I'm happy to do whatever I can to spread the word. Most importantly, I'm really liking the Serpico beard. Any millennials watching this will not understand that reference. Robert, you're younger than I am. I hope you do, but very good, my friend.
All right, guys. Take care. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and thank you to all of you watching this particular video. Happy holidays, as we'll probably take a break until 2022, but we'll be back with you with the Blue Family News Q&A series. Thank you for watching the Blue Family News Q&A series, brought to you by Police Federal Credit Union of Omaha. To learn more about Police Federal Credit Union of Omaha, go to opfcu.net.